Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are at the middle, we're at the midpoint with so much more to go. So, I hope you've been inspired. I hope you've had some good, meaty insights from these previous sessions. I'd now like to introduce you to our next speaker. Before I do that, another reminder, and I'm going to be that record who reminds everybody again and again. Keep your questions, your thoughts, your ideas, keep sharing them. That last session with John C was fantastic because of that dynamics and the ideas that were being shared. So not only your thoughts, your questions, but examples, because this next session, and I'll introduce the speaker in a moment, is all about role modeling, not just best behaviors, but best leadership behaviors. And Sue Fern, our speaker, who's CEO and founder of Fern Management Services, will be our speaker. And Sue is going to bring to you a wealth of her experiences to talk about this great subject. And what's amazing is that all of the subjects have been so diverse to this point, but the thread that's bringing it all together is this commitment, this belief that leadership is so important and the commitment that's there. So let me tell you a little bit about Sue. And I have her bio in front of me, so I'm going to refer to my notes. And it really is my pleasure to introduce Sue. I've got to know Sue over the past year or so, and she's quite an individual. She has a number of special characters, so let me tell you more in her bio. So Sue has learned her skills over the years by moving through the ranks and gaining hands-on, or what we class as real-world leadership and experiences, and also her business expertise. All of this experience she gained by working with some major global companies such as British Airways, Thomas Cook, and in their corporate travel division, and leading nonprofits, not only in the UK, but also in the US and also across Europe as well. Sue's run her own successful charity support company, which she launched back in 1998, where she enabled her to review and refresh over 150 organizations, giving them strong, successful futures, and also creating for them bespoke, engaging operational fundraising campaigns, increasing their income and also their strategic excellence. Sue has also spent time as a trustee of a leading professional foundation and became their chair after 10 years, which has enabled her to have a really deep understanding of the kind of unique leadership challenges that exist at board level. And I'm sure some of the bad behaviors as well, which Sue, you could reveal for us. Her dynamic style blends corporate and nonprofit experience to deliver both collaborative leadership, and we've talked about how important that is, and those kind of structures that bring about success. So, again, a recap to everybody: keep sharing thoughts, questions, comments, and examples. And I think this is going to be another really great session for everybody. So, let me turn it over to you, Sue. Have a wonderful session.
Thank you so much. Gosh, is that really me? Wow. Well, my first part, after all of that, I thought I should put up a graphic of Methuselah. I all the years that I've been in business, I feel like Methuselah sometimes. The only two things about me that match him are the flip flops and the grey hair, but well, maybe the long skirt sometimes. Yep, as Vicky said, 45 years in business, UK, USA, and also Asia Pacific. All of those things have really given me a very good, wide opportunity to understand leaders. I've worked with so many different styles of leaders that I've been able to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly within that. I also understand APMP's sort of work program. For 30 years, I wrote multi-million-dollar proposals, did presentations. Not my favorite task. So my heart goes out to you for your skill sets. I did launch my own company in 1998. I was in Washington, D.C., and that again gave me an experience of working with a lot of diverse organizations, including the federal government, the White House, Secret Service. We even managed the transportation and logistics for the NATO, and worked with the Washington Post. So as you can see, quite a diverse sort of meeting of leaders. I've had a large remote team. I've been remote working for 20 odd years, and I tend to recruit strong-willed people like myself. Crazy. You're not actually supposed to do that. All the books say, but I love having people who've got something about them. My passion is strong and ethical leadership style. I believe in firm but fair, and my best people, the best leaders I've ever worked for, have been firm but fair, and I've enjoyed working for them. I also, as Vicky mentioned, I've worked with a lot of associations and nonprofits and spent a lot of time trying to help them with their leadership, staff and volunteer leaders. And to be honest, that can be a bit of a road, it's a crash on the road when the paid staff and the volunteer leaders meet, where their leadership styles and understanding the strategy of that. But that can also happen in the corporate world. So I'll discuss that a little bit. I have chaired foundations and associations, and that has given me that whole volunteer community environment experience and a good view on how the volunteer people work. My favorite thing has always been, nobody died and made you God. Please understand that. That's something else you have to understand as a leader. I've always been pretty good at talent spotting, and that is another thing that I encourage leaders to do. Best behavior, spot the talent within your team. As we're going to discuss today, it's all about your ability to model your best behaviors to bring your team along with you. And as this graphic shows, this is exactly it. You're going to be there at the front, pointing the way, up there, leading the charge. But you're not going to be up there if you don't have your team with you, holding your side right there. So this graphic is quite important to where we're going to be today. I consider the 5 key elements of modeling best behavior is going to be communication, which fails miserably in a lot of organizations. When you actually find an organization that's got a problem, when you drill down, lack of communication. Appreciation. That's appreciation of your team, yourself, and everybody around you and the people you interface with. Ethics. Everybody uses that word and just says, oh yeah, I like to be ethical. I believe in ethics. No, you have to live it. Being decisive. That's a hard one for most people. Being decisive is one of the hardest things to learn. But if you don't, and I'll show you a graphic when we get to it, there is an outcome. And empowerment, letting your team go, let it step back. You've given them the tools, now let them go. Firstly, communication. As I mentioned to you before, communication is key. And you know what? It's so simple. It's as simple as 2 cans and a piece of string. Literally, you just have to communicate. I was in a hotel recently, and it was a small private hotel, and not a big Marriott, not a Hyatt, and it worked so remarkably well. And everybody knew what was going on. They knew who my husband and I were, and we were just people staying at the hotel. We weren't VIPs or anything. And that was because every time any guest did anything, it was noted by individuals within the team, and then it was shared at their group meeting each morning. How simple is that? And that's what you need to do. You need to talk, listen, communicate, and make sure everybody is on the same page. So communication, to be an effective leader, you must convey your expectations with clarity. What does that mean? Well, basically, you have to have a conversation and very clearly specify the things that you wish to achieve in the timeline you wish to achieve. I highly recommend that when you lay that out to your team, you do it as a team. the number of times I've seen miscommunication because Fred's been spoken to, Jill's been spoken to, and somebody else been spoken to individually. All three have heard a totally different message. And now you've got three people going off down the road, and they're not actually doing the same thing. And then suddenly they bump into each other, and you don't understand why there is miscommunication. So reaffirm every time you give a direction, every time you have a meeting and you clarify things with your team, just make sure they understand. Get that feedback from them. The communication must always be two ways. And that will be a big starting point for you as a leader of a team, making sure that clarity is in place. The other one is nonverbal cues and body language. Again, everybody said, this is the old-fashioned, you need to understand if people are crossing their arms or crossing their legs, or do people head one way or another way. Don't make it complicated. It really is not that complicated. It's very simply, if you find that people are looking around, not listening to you, and looking away, or are crossing their arms and just being totally pushing back, you need to understand that and pull them out. Do not be embarrassed as a leader if you're in a group conversation and you see people disengaging with body language. Call them out on it and just reaffirm, did you understand what I meant? Have you got any input? Is there something that's concerning you? It's very simple. Don't just go with verbal. Follow those nonverbal cues, and that will really genuinely help you. Encourage, as I mentioned, encourage team input. Hear what they have to say. Make sure that you listen and you understand your team and listen to what they have to say. And, the whole thing of listening, I'm probably going to bring it up a little bit later, but again, listen to what people say. If you are thinking about what's the next thing you're going to say, or you are looking out of the window and, isn't that a nice tree? Or you're thinking about, what am I having for dinner tonight? Or what's that cute person I want to try and see in the bar? You're not listening to what they're saying. And you're missing the signs, and you're missing things that are really, really important. And people want to be heard. And that's the communication. The two-way communication really will work. Now, this you may go, what are you talking about? Every single one of us, if we are appreciated,